Hello? This is hello. Hello. This is the Renaissance, Albert Einstein, Future Humans, and Taking Small Steps. I was listening this morning to a podcast by and with Marianne Williamson and her guest, Jean Houston. Jean Houston is a futurist thinker and writer and encourager, the kind of person who would argue with James Campbell about the nature of myths. And this podcast episode was titled Future Humans. And there's a story that Jean Houston shared from her childhood. Albert Einstein was a guest lecturer in her classroom one day, or just a guest speaker. He showed up in some capacity, and some of her classmates were asking some questions like, "Oh, Professor Einstein, how can I be as smart as you?" And he says, "Read fairy tales." Another student took that train a little further, and they say, "Well, Professor Einstein, how can I be smarter than you?" And Einstein says, "Read more fairy tales." Jean approached him later, Einstein, and asked, "Are you talking about imagination?" And he said, "Yes, that's it." The point being that our intelligence is not in knowledge, but it's in how open our minds and our hearts are to wonder. To wonder with an O. Maybe to find wonder, we have to wander a little bit. I walked away from this podcast with Jean and Marianne with a provocation within me to engage with my imagination and to honor and celebrate and have showers of compassion for the process that I have in dancing with my imagination. It cannot be undervalued. This is as a people, it's our way of co-creating. We together have this creative ability to bring into being things that are not. This nature of God that works with us and through us is something we are always able to engage with, but so often the way that we have designed our systems and expectations of one another cuts us off from dwelling in that realm of the imagination. One of the questions that Jean Houston asked was, it was about, have you lately been getting similar types of ideas? And she was getting at this concept of models of creativity, not models on the runway, but models as in um, similar kinds of architecture, blueprints that share maybe some basic framing. It's like a skeleton. And so there's this outline. So I was reflecting on my own creative process, different inspirations I have had over the past decade, and they all share some basic things in common. First, there's this phase of observation where I'm watching. I'll take things in, and I'm evaluating and assessing, maybe not with the intention of making something of it, but I'm just being present. I'm showing up to some kind of community or some kind of setting. And in being present, I learn things. And what then takes the process to the next leap requires curiosity. And you can observe without being curious. But if you're not curious, you're not going to make an imaginary leap out of whatever it is. It's the process of inquiring, asking questions, leaning in with humility, understanding that I don't have the answers. And that's not the point. The point is, I am interested in what's going on here. I sense, even if I can't form it into words why, I sense value here. And from that space, I'll make a leap into some kind of vision. And my responsibility from there is to take that and share it in a way where it allows others to see, to be energized, and then to engage with each other so that collectively we can reach that vision. It's always involving this energizing of coming togetherness. And I could explain it a little further, but the point is that I was reflecting on my own process and I was able to see, these are what all of these myriad ideas have in common. Sometimes they seem so different, but they're all brought about from an inspiration out of observation and focused on energizing us into some kind of more glorious future that necessarily requires us to be reconciled together. In order to get there, in order to take those steps to that future, we have to bring love into the space between us so that we can honor and value each other, to take those steps together, to create together into whatever that future is. And this is a really important space for me right now. The final point about small steps. I've been learning lately, and lately as in the very recent past month or so, the necessary piece that I need to ground myself in taking those small steps. vision is critical. It's like in the 60s when John F. Kennedy anchored us into this goal before the decade expired that we would reach the moon. And in so doing, presenting the nation with what seemed like an absurd goal, but presenting it in a way that was so steadfast, we are going to get there. It created in the minds of the people this idea that, well, if we can get there, then we can do all of these other things too. Big vision is critical to energize us, to energize myself. I need to feel emotionally invested in a vision, to have the energy to engage with the things of the day-to-day. And so often in my past, I have become obsessively caught up in the glory of this vision that I misunderstand who is the servant and who is the master. So the nature of the visions that I have, that is futures, the nature of visions of the future that I have are in response to social injustice and or are revelations of beautiful creative opportunity, in the sense of the opportunity is shared. There's always this equitable factor, because what are we here for if not to know and share love, and to know and share creativity, and to celebrate that together, to honor each other in those things. So the nature of the visions I have are of love. They're love inspired. They are designed to bring about a world that is more peaceful and loving. But the vision itself is not the point. The vision is the awakener, it's the energizer, but it is a servant. The vision is a servant to love. And love is the small steps. Love is overcoming every day with your spouse. It is forgiving before the sun goes down because you understand the value of reconciliation, of being one together. It is having your cat tear up your furniture or puke all over the floor. In my case, it's usually trail poop around accidentally. And honoring the beauty that is my cat. His name's Chico. And not getting caught up in the emotion. There is love there. There is honoring each other. Now, you are more important than my cat. The love that we should have for each other is our ability to overcome and to work into a future that does not exist yet, to bring it into reality. And doing so requires very small steps. So my opportunity in this season is to be energized by glorious big vision, but to know that that vision is not a master. It is there to serve my ability to stay present with you, with my wife, with my coworkers, with strangers on the street. That vision is a servant to me taking small steps every day in love, so that together we can step into what is that glorious future. The process itself of stepping in love, maybe that's it.